Hello and welcome to my Algebra 1 review series. This video addresses Chapter 6, Sections 6.2 and 6.3, entitled Slope-Intercept Form and Standard Form, respectively. By the end of this video, you'll have a better understanding of writing standard form linear equations in accepted format and then converting your newly written standard form equations to slope-intercept form. The main purpose of this video is to help firmly establish the procedures for converting from one format to another. Please leave a like if you find this video to be helpful. Give your classmates a heads up too. It'll more than likely help them, and certainly it will help this channel to be seen by more students. If you'd like me to cover any of these topics in greater detail, please leave a comment in the comment section below. I read them and do my best to address each as time permits. Please subscribe to my channel and ring the bell icon to be notified every time I release a new video. Thank you. Let's do some conversions. So before we get started with our exercises, I'd like to discuss some of the rules and characteristics of the standard form and slope-intercept forms of linear equations. For the standard form suggested rules, integer coefficients, a, b, and c are integers. No fractions. No common factors. The coefficients of a, b, and c should have no common factors other than 1. So if everything is multiplied by 2, you should be dividing the 2 out to reduce the common factors. Positive leading coefficients. The coefficient of a, or the coefficient of x, I should say, is typically positive. If a is negative, it's common practice to multiply the entire equation by -1 to make a positive. A and b not both 0. Neither a nor b should be 0. If both are 0, the equation becomes trivial, representing a constant value rather than a line. Consistency with slope-intercept form. The standard form can be converted to slope-intercept form, y equals mx plus b, by solving for y, where m is the slope and b is the y-intercept. Consistency with two variable forms. The standard form can be written as ax plus by equals c, to emphasize the two variables x and y and their coefficients. Useful for certain operations, the standard form is often convenient for certain algebraic operations, such as addition and subtraction of equations. Rules for the slope-intercept form is the y-term coefficient must be a positive value of 1. 1y, of course the y is no, it's given, so you don't have to write it, but it has to be a 1. If negative, the entire equation must be multiplied by -1. So, okay, we've gone over the rules for standard form and slope-intercept form. So with those freshly in our mind, we're going to go ahead and start these 4 problems, these 4 exercise problems. We're going to find there are 40 of them in this entire slide here. And this is sheet 1. So what did the directions say? If not in standard form, convert to standard form. Then convert the standard form equation to slope-intercept form. So let's give the first one a try. And if we remember the rules from the previous slide, and that we have to have it in standard form to begin with, and this is just part of the exercise. It's not a necessity, but it's part of the exercise. We're going to check the format here, and the x term is positive, so that's basically what we have to worry about. There's no common term in between them all, so we're not going to worry about any of this anymore. We're going to start solving the problem. So in order to get, if we draw a line through the equal sign right here, we have a left side and a right side. The left side's over here, and the right side's over on this side. We want the y term on the left side. It's already on the left side. We want the x term on the right side. And so that means, oops, we have to move it. And how do we move it? We move it by adding the negative inverse. okay, or the additive inverse, and that is negative 2. So we're going to add a negative 2x plus, and we're going to rewrite the equation over here, plus 2x plus 3y, and that equals 10, and minus 2x. Okay, so we put a minus 2x, we added a negative 2x to each side because we want to get rid of this 2x, and it's a positive number. So in order to get rid of a positive number, you have to subtract a negative or add a negative number. But you have to do it to both sides because you can't do anything you do to one side, you have to do the same thing to the other side. So now that we've done that, these cancel, the 2x's cancel, and we're left with 3y, and that equals, and I'm going to move these around a little bit, negative 2x plus 10. And I moved it because that's kind of a standard form to have the x value ahead of the constant value. So now we have to get rid of the 3. And to do that, we're going to divide each side by 3 or multiply by 1/3. Well, it might be easier just to divide each side, every term, by 3. So we're going to divide this side by 3 here. We're going to divide the negative 2x by 3. And we're going to divide the 10 by 3. And in doing so, we're going to end up with the 3's canceling. These 3's right here are going to cancel each other out. 3 divided by 3 is 1. So we're going to end up with y, and that's going to be equal to negative 2 over 3x. So it's negative 2/3 x, and it's positive 10/3. So there's our solution. Could have written this as 3 1/3, but we're just going to leave them all in fractions right now. Let's do the next one. So this one's, if you look at it, you see we have a negative 4x, and I see here that they want us to put in standard form first. So what do we have to do to put this in standard form? To get rid of a negative, we have to multiply by a negative 1 or divide by negative 1. Either one is okay. Dividing by negative 1 is kind of nice because it makes it easier to just draw little lines here. So we're going to divide by negative 1. Divide by negative 1 and divide by negative 1. All 3 terms get divided by negative 1. And when we do that, then the 4 becomes a positive x because the negative 1 here cancels this negative sign right there. This negative sign here gets canceled by that negative, becomes plus 2y. And then that ends up equaling negative 8 divided by negative 1 is equal to 8. So now we're in standard form. Now what's left to do is to put this into slope-intercept form. And in order to do that, we're going to put a line through here, and we're going to be moving terms around. Everything on the left side of the line is y. Everything on the right side of the line is x and the constants, everything else. So in order to do that, we're going to add a negative. In order to get the 4x to the other side, we have to add a negative 4x. Then we have a positive 4x. That's the one that already exists right here. And we have a positive 2y. And that equals, we're going to add the negative x to both sides, negative 4x. And we're going to say, and we have a plus 8. All that's left now is then to get rid of these 4x's, and we have 2y is equal to negative 4x plus 8, and we have to get rid of the 2. This is going to be nice because we're going to divide each side, every term, by the coefficient over here, and so we're going to divide by 2, and divide by 2. And the answer is going to be y equals negative 2x plus 4. Okay? Next problem. 3x plus 5y equals 15. We see that the 3x is already positive. The format's correct. They draw, if we just have to move terms around. We put our little line here. And I have to leave the y on the left side and bring the x over here to the right side. So in order to do that, I'm going to add a negative 3x plus 3x. I'm just rewriting this original part right now. Plus 3x plus 5y is equal to minus 3x plus 15. Okay, now we get rid of the 3x's because the negative 3x and a positive 3x cancel each other because that's what we wanted to do. That's why we added the negative 3x so we could cancel the positive 3x. So now we're ended up with 5y is equal to negative 3x plus 15. Okay, so now we're going to divide everything by 5 or multiply by 1 over 5. So dividing by 5, I have divide by 5 equals 3x divided by 5 plus 15 divided by 5. The answer, the 5's cancel. We get a y equals negative 3x divided by 5 is negative 3/5 x plus 15 divided by 5, 3. Let's do this one. When we look at this one, we see that the x term is negative. So according to the requirements of our directions, it says to convert non-standard form to standard form. So we have to get rid of the negative. So we're going to multiply everything by -1 or divide by -1, whatever is easiest. I'm going to divide by. So if I divide by -1 here, divide by -1 here, and divide by equals, divide by -1 here. That will change the coefficients on the positive or negative nature of the coefficients on the top of this in the numerator. So we have 6x, now it's a positive 6, minus y equals negative 12 over -1, 12. Okay, so we have that. Now, we have to move the 6x to the other side. How do we move it? You have to take the negative or the reciprocal, the additive inverse. So negative 6 is the additive inverse to 6. You just change it from positive to negative. That's all you're really doing, positive to negative. And we are doing all adding and subtracting here. So we're going to add a negative 6x. Then we have a plus. We're going to write this part of the equation again. Plus 6x minus y equals 12 minus 6x. These 6's cancel, but the 6x's cancel. So we have minus y is equal to 12 minus 6x. And we could flip these around to get the x before the 12. I won't do it this time, and I will though. No, actually I will do it. In the next step I will do it. So now we're going to divide by -1, divide by -1, divide by -1, divide by -1, and we get y equals, I'm moving this right now, 6x, because negative 6x minus divided by -1 is 6x, and we have 12 divided by -1 is equal to minus 12. There's the answer. Okay? If you have any questions, leave a comment in the video. Okay, so we know the rules. Convert standard to standard form first, and then from standard form, convert to slope-intercept form. Let's look at this first one. We see that, first of all, we have a y first, and the x is second. So the standard form says it wants the x first. So what we're going to do is we're going to flip it around. Okay, so I'm going to write this in standard form is going to be negative x minus 2y equals -5. Now I've written it with the x and the y in the correct order. I'm going to get rid of the negative x because you have to have a positive coefficient on the x term. So I'm going to divide everything by -1, divide by -1, divide by -1. So now these negatives cancel, so we end up with 1x plus 2y is equal to 5. because the negative 5 divided by negative 1 is a 5. The negative 2 divided by negative 1 is 2. Now we have to move the x to the other side, because if you go through this center line here, all the x terms go on the right side, the y terms stay on the left side. The y term is already on the left side, so we're going to add a negative x plus 2y. We have to all the terms plus an extra negative x because of this x, and that's going to equal, I'm going to put the negative x first, negative x plus 5. Okay, there's our plus 5. Now everything's on the right side. These x's cancel, and we end up with 2y is equal to negative x plus 5. We have to get rid of the 2 because we want the y by itself. So we're going to divide everything by 2, divide by 2, divide by 2. And the answer, these 2's are going to cancel. We have a y equals negative x over 2. So we can do that. Minus x over 2. And we can plus 5 halves, or 5 over 2. We can leave it just like that. Your teacher may want you to convert that out of a fraction here, but you have a fraction here, so it's kind of not much you can do with that. We can leave it like this. If we had to convert it, it would be 2.5 would be this constant here. Next term. So we have a negative x. They're in the right order, but we have a negative coefficient, so we have to get rid of the negative coefficient. In order to do that, we're going to divide by negative 1, negative 1, divide by negative 1, and divide by negative 1. So when this negatives cancel out here, we're going to have 5x, and we're going to have 3 plus 3y. And it's plus because this negative 3y gets canceled with the negative 1 divided by negative 1, so the negatives cancel and become positive. And then that equals negative 7 divided by negative 1 is 7. Okay, so now we have the right format, the right order. We have to move. Now we're on our way to the slope-intercept form. So I'm going to draw a little line through here. And I wouldn't necessarily do that for your teacher. She or he probably wouldn't want that, but maybe they wouldn't care. Anyways, I'm going to divide. In order to do this, I'm going to move the positive 5 to the right-hand side. And to do that, I'm going to add a negative 5x to my plus 5x. I have to write down the plus 5, and I have to write down the plus 3y. And that equals, and I'm going to put a negative, put the x first, negative 5x, and it's plus 7. Plus 7. So the 5's cancel, and I end up with 3y, and that 3y equals to negative 5x plus 7. I have to get rid of the 3. By dividing by 3, I'll do it. That's the easy way to do it. I'm going to divide by 3, and in doing so, I'm going to have divide by 3, divide by 3, divide by 3. These 3's here will now cancel. That's why we divided by 3, to get rid of this 3 on the top. We end up with a y equals, this was negative 5x divided by 3, so it's now negative 5/3 x plus 7/3. 7/3. Okay. And again, if we were going to convert this fraction here, it would be 2 1/3. So going to this next equation, the x and y are in the correct format. They're in the right order. The x is positive, so all we have to do is move the x to go to the slope-intercept form. So we're going to say minus x plus 4y is equal to 20 minus x. The x's cancel. We have 4y is equal to, I'm going to switch the x position around, minus x plus 20. to make it in the right format for our y-intercept form. I'm going to divide all sides by 4, divide by 4, and divide by 4. When I do that, these 4's cancel. I end up with y equals minus x, negative x, over 4 plus 5, because 4 goes into 25 times. Next equation. The format is correct except for the negative sign on the 2, on the 2x. So we're going to get rid of the negative. So we're going to divide by negative 1, and I'm going to divide by negative 1 and divide by negative 1. And when we do that, the negatives all cancel here, and this is a negative also. All the negatives cancel. So we end up with 2x plus 6y equals 10. Interesting, you see how the 2 and the 6 and the 10, they have a common factor. We have to get, it says to get it in common form, we have to get this out. That's one of the rules. So it's a little extra step. So we're going to divide everything by 2. Divide this side by 2 and this side by 2. Both sides get divided by 2. We end up with x plus 3y is equal to 5. You see that? We divided this, every term on this side by 2. So the x is 2 divided by 2x is 2, is x. 6y divided by 2 is 3y. And 10 divided by 2 is 5. Now we move the x. Now it's in the standard form. We move the x, negative x plus 3y is equal to 5 minus x. So the x's cancel. 3y is equal to, I'm going to move the x, minus x plus 5. I'm going to divide everything by 3. I'm going to divide by 3. And I'm going to divide the whole side by 3. Okay? So this, now I'm going to move over here. Y equals, I got rid of the 3's here. They canceled. Negative x divided by 3. Negative x divided by 3. And 5 plus 5 divided by 3 plus 5 divided by 3. Okay? As before, we know the rules, so let's move on. The first problem, 4x plus y equals 13, is in the right format. It is standard form right now. So what we're going to do is we're going to say 4x divided by, oh, we want to move it, minus 4x plus y is equal to minus 4x plus 13. So when we cancel these x's out, we're going to get y equals minus 4x plus 13, and we're done. Our y is already singular, so we're done. This is the solution. Next problem. Our terms are out of order. It should be x first, y after the x. They should all be positive, so we're in good shape there, and there's no common factors between these problems. So I'm going to rewrite this as 5x plus 2y equals 17. So now we're in the standard format. We're going to go now to slope-intercept. So to go to slope-intercept, we're going to move the 5x to the other side. Remember, we drew the little line through here. And we're going to move the 5 to the right-hand side. There's nothing to move to the left-hand side because the y is already on the left-hand side. So we're going to add a negative 5x to our plus 5x and our plus 2y. And that's going to be equal to negative 5x, put the x first, and then the plus 17. Now we get rid of the 5's on the left-hand side, and we end up with the 2y is equal to minus 5x plus 17. We have to get the y by itself, which means get rid of the 2. And the way to get rid of a 2 in the numerator, you have to divide by 2 to make it a 2 over 2 makes a 1. So we're going to divide by 2. and we're going to divide by 2, and we're going to divide by 2. All terms. You can do whatever you want as long as you do it to both sides of the equation. The 2's cancel. We end up with a y equals negative 5x over 2. Negative 5x over 2 plus 17 over 2. 17 over 2. Next problem. Minus 3x plus 2y minus 10. Well, the format is right, except we need to get rid of the negative 3. So in order to do that, we're going to multiply by divide by negative 1, or multiply by the inverse of a negative 1, which is 1 over negative 1. We're just going to go ahead and divide by negative 1. So we're going to divide by negative 1, okay, plus divide by negative 1, and divide by negative 1. Okay? In doing that, the negatives will cancel. We'll end up with 3x, and we have a negative 2y, because the positive y was converted to negative because we divided by a negative. And that equals negative 10 divided by a negative 1 is 10. Okay? Now we have to get the x onto the right-hand side, because we have to draw that little line through. Say everything on the right-hand side is for y, everything on the left-hand side, everything on the left-hand side is for y, everything on the right-hand side is for x and the constants. So we're going to move the 3x by adding a negative 3x, and we're going to have our 3x, we have to rewrite this part, 3x minus 2y, and we'll say equal, and I'm going to put the 3x first, the minus 3x, and I have a plus 10, plus 10. The 3's cancel, the 3x's cancel. We end up with minus 2y is equal to minus 3x plus 10. We have this, I'm going to do something a little faster here. We have the 2 we're going to get rid of and the negative sign all at the same time. You can get rid of the negative and the 2 at the same time. We're going to divide by negative 2. Divide by, I'm going to draw one line and divide everything by negative 2. So let's solve this. Negative 2 divided by negative 2 is 1. So y is equal to 1. Y is equal to negative 3 over negative 2 is 3 halves, because it's 3 halves and the negatives cancel, and it's x. And then we have a positive 10 divided by negative 2 makes this a negative 5. Done. We did everything in one step. This equation here, 8x plus y equals 15, is in the right format. We can now convert it straight on to y slope-intercept. So we're going to move the 8x. Here's our line. We're going to go through the middle here. Everything on this side is y. Everything on this side is x. So we're going to add a negative x. And then we rewrite this part of the left-hand side of the equation, plus 8x plus y equals, I'm going to move the 8x in first, negative 8x, because I want the format to be x before a constant, plus 15. Okay, get rid of the 8x's. We ended up with y. We already have our y term. Whatever this is, it is. Negative 8x. That's it. Negative 8x plus, oh, how did I get 15? Oh, I'm sorry, plus 15. I lost track of where I was. Okay, it was an easy one. Okay, we know the rules. We know what to do. We're moving pretty good. We're on the 4th sheet already here. So let's get on it. So in this one, it is not in the correct standard form. It is a negative x term. The x and y are in the right location. There are no common terms between all three of them, except this. We have to get rid of this negative. So in order to do that, we're going to divide both sides by negative 1. So I'm going to say negative x plus 3y equals 6. I'm going to divide this by negative 1, this by -1, and the 6 by -1. Our answer now is, or our formula is now x minus 3y, because the -1 converts that positive to a negative, and that equals -6. So we have to move the x. Remember, we draw a little line through here to remind ourselves the y's go on the left and the x's and the constants go on the right. So we have to move the x, -x. And now we have to write this whole part of the equation, everything on this side of the equal sign. So it's positive x plus x, negative 3y equals, I'm going to say -x and -6. Okay, the x's cancel. We're going to end up with negative 3y is equal to -x minus 6. We have to get rid of the 3 with the y because we need a coefficient of 1. And we have to get rid of the negative sign. Like in that previous problem, I'm going to do them both at the same time. I'm going to divide both sides by -3. I get rid of the negative and the 3 all at once. And I'll divide this side by -3. Okay, so the answer over here is these 3's cancel. I end up with y equals -x divided by -3 is x divided by 3, because the negatives cancel. And -6 divided by -3 is a positive 2. Next equation. These two terms, the x and the y term, are in the wrong order. So we're going to rewrite it just right now. 2x plus 6y equals 22. Okay, so this is new, I think. There's a common term. To make this still is not standard. There's a common term here, and the common term is the 2. We can take a 2 out of everything. So to take the 2 out of everything, we're going to divide by 2, divide by 2, divide by 2. In doing so, these 2's cancel. We get an x plus 6 divided by 2 is 3y equals 22 divided by 2, 11. Now we're in the form to convert to y-intercept or slope-intercept form. So we have to remove the x because our little line through this equal sign here says everything on the left is y, everything on the right is x and constants. So we're going to say -x. Now we write this whole side of the equation. Plus x plus 3y equals, I'm putting the -x in first, -x plus 11. Plus 11. The x's will cancel. That was the reason we added the -x, so we could cancel that x on this side and add it to the other side. Equals 3y. Okay. And minus x plus 11. We have to get rid of the 3. So we're going to divide this side by 3 and this side by 3. So we're going to, the 3's will cancel. We'll end up with x equals -x thirds plus 11 thirds. Or the constant could be 3 2/3. If your teacher wants you to carry that to that point. This equation here, 2y plus 4x equals 12, is good except for the x and the y need to be reversed to be in standard form. So we're going to write it. First, we're going to say 4x plus 2y equals 12. Now, are we in standard form? Almost. We still have a constant, a term in here that's common to all of them, and the term is 2. So like we did in the previous example, we're going to do the same thing here. We're going to divide everything by 2, divide by 2, and divide by 2. So now the 4 and the 2 cancel. We end up with 2x, and the 2 and the 2y cancel. The 2y over 2 cancels and makes a y, and then that equals 12 divided by 2 is 6. So now we have to, oops, I didn't get the plus sign in here, sorry. Right there, a little plus sign. So now we have to move the x. So it's -2x x. Write the entire left-hand side plus 2x plus y is equal to, write the x first, negative 2x plus 6. Now this is in the right format where you have the x before the constant. So the 2's cancel. We end up with y being equal to negative 2x plus 6. Next equation. The format is correct. There's nothing that needs changing. The x is in the right location. The x is a positive number, and there are no common coefficients. No common factors amongst the coefficients. So all we have to do is now is put it into y or slope-intercept form, and that is we have to subtract x from both sides. Doing so, minus x. Now you write this whole side plus x minus 5y equals 8. But I'm going to write the x first because we want the x term before the constant. Minus x plus 8. So now the x's can cancel on the left-hand side because that's what we're trying to do. And we have negative 5y. Negative 5y is equal to negative x plus 8. And as we said before, there are no common factors in these coefficients, so except for 1. So we can now just divide by, what do we divide by? We could divide by negative 1 and get all these, and then divide by 5, or just do it all at once. I'm going to say divide it all at once. Negative 5 equals negative x over negative 5 plus 8 over negative 5. So these negative 5's over here cancel. That was the purpose of adding or dividing by negative 5. So the y is equal to negative x divided by negative 5 is equal to x over 5. And this is a negative, and this becomes a negative because it's a positive, so a negative 8 over 5. Okay? Okay, so I seem to have done these out of order. We're now on sheet 5. I think I just finished sheet 6 out of order, so we're going to do 5 now. We know the rules. Convert to standard form first, and convert to slope-intercept form second. So if we're looking at the first equation here, we see 4y minus x. We're going to have to flip it because the x is not first. And we're also seeing that the minus x, it's a minus x. So we're going to have to change that too. So we're going to say minus x plus 4y is equal to 9. Okay, now we've got the right format from x to y to the constant. We have to get rid of the negative sign. So we're going to divide everything by negative 1, negative 1, negative 1. And we do that, these negatives are going to cancel. We're going to have x minus 4y, because we divide by negative 1 on that positive 4y. And that's going to be equal to negative 9. Negative 9. Okay, so now that that's our new equation in the standard form, we can now go to the slope-intercept form, which says move the x term to the right-hand side and move the y term to the left-hand side. But based on these equations, it's already there because we went to standard form first, which is convenient. So now we're going to subtract an x from the left-hand side, and we're going to then write the rest of the equation on the left-hand side. So we have positive x minus 4y, and that equals, I'm going to put the minus x in the beginning, minus 9. I'm going to get rid of the x's because that was the reason for moving the x, to get the y by itself. So now we have minus 4y is equal to minus x, or negative x, minus 9. So we have to now get y by itself because we want one singular y of a positive nature, positive term. So we have a negative 4. We're going to get rid of that negative 4, and we're going to do that by dividing everything by negative 4. So we're going to divide this by negative 4, And we're going to divide this side of the equation by negative 4. And in doing so, the negative 4's will cancel. We'll end up with a y. And the negative x divided by negative 4 is going to be equal to x over 4. And the negative 9 divided by negative 4 is going to be equal to a positive 9 over 4. Okay? Next problem. 2x, 3y, 14, they're in the right format. Nothing needs to be converted. We just need to go to slope-intercept. X is in the beginning, the y is second, the constant's on the right-hand side. Positive x term, we're good. No fractions anywhere. It's another one. No fractions. Only integers. We're there. So we can move the x. I'm going to write it. 2x plus 3y equals 14. So I'm going to subtract a 2x from both sides. So minus 2x plus 2x plus 3y equals 14 minus 2x. I wrote those out of order. I'll fix it next time. These cancel. I have 3y is equal to minus 2x. I just move the x to the front now. And plus 14. And by the way, none of these would divide out. There's no common factor. So we still have no common factor. We're now going to get rid of the 3 with the y because it has to be a singular y. So in order to do that, we're going to divide this side by 3 and this whole side by 3. We're going to end up with the 3's canceling, and the y ends up being equal to minus 2x over 3 minus 2x over 3 plus, because 14 divided by 3. Okay, next problem. The negative 3x is not good for us. We have to get rid of the negative, but the order is correct. There's no common factors that we can get rid of. There's no fractions anywhere, so we're in good shape. We're just going to get rid of the negative. The negative on the terms for the 3x. So to get to standard form, so we have to divide everything. So negative 3x, negative 5, negative y equals negative 5. So now we're going to divide everything by negative 1, negative 1, and negative 1. And we'll end up with 3x minus, divided by a negative 1 is positive y. So those negatives disappeared, these negatives disappeared, and this negative disappeared, equals 5. Now we have to get rid of the x term because here's our little line. Everything on the left is y, everything on the right is x. So we're going to say negative 3x, then write this entire side, plus 3x plus y equals negative 3x. You got to put them on both sides, plus 5. The 3x's cancel. We end up with a y equals negative 3x plus 5. There's our answer. Next problem. The format is correct. There are no common factors. There are no fractions. No decimals. You can't have decimals either. Everything is good. We have a positive 7x, positive 2y, and a positive 19. And what do we have to do? We have positive x, positive 2y. It's in the right form. X comes before y is equal to 19. We're going to move the x term over to the right. So remember I draw my little line there to remind that I'm moving everything. X is to one side, y is to the other. So I'm going to say negative 7x. And now I'm going to write this entire side here. Plus 7x plus 2y is equal to, write the negative 7x first, negative 7x on both sides here, and then plus 19. You got to bring the 19 down. You got to write both this 19 over here too. So now the x's cancel. That was the purpose of doing this. We have a 2y is equal to negative 7x plus 19. We have to get rid of the 2, so we're going to divide by 2, divide by 2, divide by 2, because you got to get rid of the 2 with the y so they can cancel and get us one y all by itself. Negative 7 over 2x, negative 7 over 2x plus 19 over 2. Or it could be what? It could be 9 and 1/2. Okay. Okay, done with slide 5. Next is slide 7. Okay, sheet 5. Standard instructions, nothing's changed. We know we're converting to standard form first, and then from standard form to slope-intercept form. And if you'd like, stop the video. We've gone through a lot of problems so far. Stop the video and try to work some of these yourself. We can wait, okay? So now that you've stopped it and you're back, let's go through let's see if we can solve these equations here. Okay, so now the form, we have a positive x term is good. The x is in the beginning, which is right. There's no constant coefficient. There's no factor in our coefficient that we can reduce these coefficients. So we're ready to move. We're ready to move on to converting to slope-intercept. To go to slope-intercept, the first thing we have to do is get rid of the 5x. Remember, I drew that little line there. Everything on the right is y, left is y. Everything on the right is x and constants. We have constants already on the right. We already have the y on the left. We're just moving the x over to the right. In order to move a positive number, we have to add a negative 5x. We're going to rewrite this entire half side of the equation because we have to. So it's plus 5x and it's minus 2y. And that equals, I'm going to put the minus 5x right here first. Minus 5x and then the plus 7. And the reason why I moved the minus 5x to the front is because slope-intercept wants y equals mx plus b. So here we have our y, our mx, and our b. So we're going to get rid of the 5s. So we have negative 2y equals negative 5x plus 7. We have to get rid of the negative 2 because y has to be a single positive y, not multiple value y's. The coefficient has to be 1. So we're going to divide both sides by negative 2. And I'll do this whole thing by negative 2. And when we do that, these negatives cancel. We get a y equals negative 5x divided by negative 2 is 5x, because the negatives cancel. And then positive 7 and then divided by negative 2, we end up with a negative 7 divided by 2. Next equation. We have a negative x. The x and y are in the right order, but it's negative x. We have to convert it to a positive x to make this standard form. So in order to do that, we're going to say negative x, negative 2y is equal to negative 11. When we're going to get rid of the negative sign, we're going to divide everything by negative 1, and negative 1. When we do that, the negatives cancel. We end up with x. The negatives cancel. We have a positive 2y. And that equals, the negatives cancel. We end up with a positive 11. So now we have to, I'm going to draw the little line here. And we're going to move the x's to the right side, and we're going to move the y's to the left side. Keep the constants on the right side. So we're going to move the x by making it negative. We have a positive x, so we have to subtract it. And you'll notice that it's always subtracting. Every one of these problems we've done so far is always subtracting x. Why is that? It's not because you're always going to subtract x. It's because we always change the format to the standard form of the linear equation. And the standard form says you have a positive x. And that means we're going to subtract an x. If we weren't putting it in standard form first, many of these you'd have been adding an x to both sides. But since the instructions say convert it to standard form first, that's why you always end up, in this case, subtracting an x. Now we're going to add in the left side of the equation. So we have plus x and plus 2y, and that equals the negative x is going to go in first because of the slope-intercept form wants the x first, and then it's plus 11. So now the x's will cancel. We have a positive 2y, so we have 2y is equal to negative x plus 10. And we're going to get rid of the 2 because the y has to be by itself. It has to be one singular positive y. So we have to get rid of the 2. So we're going to divide by 2. We're going to divide this whole side by 2, if you will. 2. And the y, this is equal to y because the 2's cancel. That was the purpose of dividing everything by 2. And we have negative x over 2, negative x over 2, and then we have positive 10 over 2, which is 5. Okay? Next equation, 4y plus x equals 15. Well, the format is not correct. The x is not in the lead. X needs to be in the lead, so we're going to change it. We're going to say x plus 4y, it is plus 4y, is equal to 15. There we are. We're in the right shape. Now we have to get rid of the x. Here's our line. We have to get x's on the right side, constants on the right side, y terms on the left side. So we have to get rid of the positive x by adding a negative x. Now we rewrite this entire left side of the equation, plus x plus 4y, and that equals, put the negative x in first, negative x, because we want the x first, and it's plus 15. Get rid of the x's on the left-hand side. We have a clear y on the left, but the y is still times 4, so we're going to see that we have a 4y is equal to negative x plus 15. And when we cancel the 4 on this side, in order to do that, we have to divide everything by 4. So we're going to divide the left side by 4. We're going to divide the right side by 4. And when we do that, the 4's cancel, and we end up with a y term here. Okay. Y equals negative x over 4 plus 15 over 4. We couldn't reduce this 4 over 15 because 4 doesn't go into 15 evenly. Next problem. We have our x and y's reversed for standard form. And when we do fix it, the x will be negative, which is wrong. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to say negative 3x minus 3y is equal to negative 6. Well, right off the bat, I said negative x, negative 3x. I'm sorry, negative, can I erase this? Let's see. Negative 2y. Negative 2y, sorry. And the negative 6. We have a 2 in this equation everywhere. So, in fact, we have a negative everywhere in the equation. So we can divide, oh no, I'm sorry, I'm wrong. I jumped ahead. There's nothing common between all of them. The 2 and the 3 both divide into 6, but the 2, nothing is divisible into every one of them. So we're going to leave the x where it is, and we're going to get rid of the negatives. And we're going to do that by multiply or dividing by -1. So we're going to say this side is going to be divided by -1, and this side divided by -1. And when we do that, we're going to have 3x, and we're going to have 2y equals 6. The negatives cancel. Now we have the right format. Everything is good. There's nothing that divides into all of them except for 1, of course. We're going to get rid of the 3x. Here's our little line I drew here, right? We're going to move the 3x to the right side, and the 6 is already on the right side, and the y is already on the left side because the y goes on the left. So in order to move the 3x to the right side, we have to add a -3x, and we have to then rewrite this whole part of the equation. Plus 3x plus 2y equals, put the x first, minus 3x plus 6. Okay? Now the x's over here on the left cancel. We have the y on all by itself. So we have 2y is equal to -3x plus 6. Now we have to get rid of the 2. So we're going to divide each side by 2. And we're going to have y equals 3/2 x, -3/2 x, I'm going to write it a little differently, plus 3. Because 2 divides into 6 3 times. Okay, it looks like we're doing slide 7. Same instructions. Convert to standard form first, and then from standard form to slope-intercept form. And let's look at the first problem. X minus 4y equals 10, and based on our rules that we've learned, been talking about all along, there are no common factors in these coefficients. The x is positive. They're in the right order. X, then y, and then our constants on the right-hand side. There's no fractions, no decimals. We're in good shape. All we have to do now is start by moving to get into the slope-intercept form. So I'm going to write it again. X minus 4y is equal to 10. And then we're going to move the x. Here's my little line I'm drawing here. That reminds you got to move these. X's go to the right, y's go to the left, and your constants go to the right. So we're going to move the x, so I'm going to add a -x. And then I'm going to write this entire side of the equation, plus x minus 4y is equal to, I'm going to put the minus x in first, and then bring down the plus 10. Okay, now the x's disappear, and we have -4y is equal to -x plus 10. Here we can remove the 4 and the negative all at one time. We've done this before. I'm going to divide both sides by -4. Both sides by -4. I can get everything at once. The 4's will disappear, and I end up with a y. And the -x over -4 ends up being x, positive x over 4. And the positive 10 over -4 ends up being negative 10 divided by 4, I should say. I'm going to erase this. Ten divided by 4 is what? Okay, I'll do it. I'll do the whole thing. 10 divided by 4, and I'll rewrite it. Y equals x divided by 4 minus 2 goes into both of these, so 5 over 2. 5/2. Okay? Next, 3y, 7x, 23. The x and y are in the wrong location, so we have to fix that. So I'm going to do 7x plus 3y equals 23. Now I need to move the 7x. I'm in the right form. Everything is good. No fractions, no decimals. There's not a common factor in here that divides everything out to make the values smaller, so to speak. We just have to we have to go to slope-intercept. We have to move the x. And to move the x, we go negative 7x. Then we add this whole left-hand side in, plus 7x plus 3y. And that is equal to, I'm going to put the x in first, minus 7x and plus 23. Okay, now these are in the right order for the slope-intercept form, the 7x and the 23. The 7's cancel, and we end up with 3y is equal to negative 7x. Oops, got another erasure here. Negative 7x plus 23. And we get rid of the 3 now. So we're going to divide everything by 3, divide by 3, divide by 3, divide by 3. These 3's cancel, so the y is by itself. Y equals negative 7 thirds x plus 23 thirds. 23 thirds. Okay. And 23 thirds is what? 21 and 2/3. Excuse me, 7 and 2/3. Because 3 goes into 23 7 times. That 7 times 3 is 21, plus 2/3 remaining. Next equation, the x, the y, right here, x, y, and 15, they're in the right order. The x is positive. Nothing is common, divisibly common. There's no factors. So we're just going to start by going right straight to slope-intercept. So we're going to say x plus 3y is equal to 15. We're going to move the x. We're going to do that by saying negative x. Then we're going to write this whole side up to the equal sign where we drew the little line here. Plus x plus 3y equals, put the x term in first, minus x plus 15. The x's cancel. We get 3y equals minus x plus 15. We have to get rid of the 3 with the y because we need a singular positive y. So in order to do that, we're going to divide by each side by 3. When we do that, the 3's will cancel. We end up with a y equals negative, I'm going to write it differently, negative 1/3 x and plus 15 divided by 3 is 5. Okay, next equation, negative 8x plus 4y equals negative 16. To get it into standard form, we need to get rid of the negative in front of that x. So we're going to divide everything. Negative 8x plus 4y equals negative 16. Divide everything by negative 1. Negative 1, negative 1, negative 1. These cancel. This becomes a negative, and these cancel. So we end up with 8x minus 4y is equal to 16. Okay? So now this is a common factor in here, correct? The common factor is a 4. We can take out the 4. So we have to divide everything by 4 because we can't have any common factors amongst the 3 terms. So we're going to divide this by 4, we're going to divide this by 4, and we're going to divide this by 4. And when we do, 8 x divided by 4 is 2x. And minus 4y over 4 is equal to minus y. And that is 16 over 4 is 4. Now we're in good shape for the standard form. Let's see if we can get to our y-intercept. Looks like I'm going to run out of room here too. So I'm going to move the x. Here's my little divider sign. Remember to move the divider. The x goes to the right, and the constant goes to the right, and the y goes to the left. So we're going to say minus 2x. That's so we can get rid of the 2x because it has to go to the right. Plus, we're going to add this entire piece of the equation, plus 2x minus y is equal to, going to write the minus 2x first, minus 2x, and we have a plus 4. Plus 4. Don't forget to always bring that number down. I think I've seen it before where you get the 2x over and forget to bring down the rest of the equation from that side because you're adding the 2x minus 2x to the 4. Okay, so now the 2's are gone. We have a minus y. Minus y is equal to minus 2x plus 4. We have to get rid of the negative y now, and I'm going to have to move upstairs over here a little bit. I'm going to draw it again. Minus y is equal to minus 2x plus 4. Okay, so now we have to get rid of the negative 1 on the y, so it's divide by negative 1, divide this whole side by negative 1, and we get the negative signs cancel. We get y equals, the negative signs cancel, 2x, and the positive 4 becomes a negative 4, negative 4. There's our answer. Okay, we're on slide 8. We're getting close to the end. Same instructions, standard form first, and check for the rules. We know the rules. And standard form to slope-intercept form. Sheet 8. The first problem, negative 6x, negative 2y equals negative 12. If you'd like to stop this video and just try some of these yourself, you should be doing that. And when you're done, then turn it back on and I'll solve them with you here. But we see right off the bat that we have a negative 6x. The x is negative, it has to be positive. It's in the right order, x, y, and constant on the other side of the equal sign. But we have to get rid of the negative 6. And in order to do that, we're going to divide everything by negative 1. So we're going to start off by saying negative 6x, negative 2y is equal to negative 12. And we're going to divide everything by the negative sign. Okay? And we're also going to see something, I can see it ahead of time, is there's a common factor here, the 2. Okay? We could probably divide by the 2 if we wanted to. If we divided everything by this negative 2, we'd get rid of the negative in the 6, we'd get rid of the negative on the 12, and we'd have a y all by itself. You want to do it? It's a little different. Let's do it. I'm going to choose to divide, since this is the common factor, and it's negative, it's going to kill 2 birds with 1 stone, as we like to say. I'm going to do that. So I'm going to divide each side, every term, by negative 2. So this side I'm dividing by negative 2, this by negative 2, and the negative 12 by negative 2. And what do we get? These negatives cancel. The 6 divides by 2, we get a 3, so we get 3x. And this was kind of nice, because now the negatives cancel, and we end up with a positive. The 2's cancel, end up with a positive y, and that equals to negative 12, and negative divided by negative 2 ends up being a positive 6. So the y is in the right form already. See why we did this? Because now the y is reduced down to a singular 1, coefficient of 1, positive 1. So now we're ready to move the x to the right-hand side. So I'm going to take and move the x to the right-hand side. I'm going to say negative 3x. Add in this entire side, positive 3x plus y equals negative 3x first, negative 3x plus 6. Get rid of the 3x's, and we have y is equal to negative 3x plus 6. Case closed. Problem finished. Next, this problem, 2x plus y equals 9. No common factors, no fractions, no decimals, coefficients or whatever, but the x is positive. That's the important part. This equation is ready to go into slope-intercept form. So we're going to have 2x plus y equals 9. This is going to be an easy one. Why is that? Oh, there's no common factors because we're going to subtract 2x from both sides. Here, remember, minus 2x plus this whole side of the equation, 2x plus y is equal to minus 2x first, minus 2x plus 9. Cancel out the 2's. We end up with y equals minus 2x plus 9. Problem finished. Next problem. The negatives and everything are good here. We do have a common factor. Look at 2, 6, and 20. The 6 is in the wrong spot. The 6 belongs over here somewhere. So we're going to rewrite this. So it's going to be 6x plus 2y equals 20. Okay, we have a common term. And the common term happens to be on the y, just like the last time, which is good for us because we can divide out the common term right now and get the y equal to a singular y. We're going to use it in the next equation. I hope you see that. Think about it. If you don't see what I'm saying, stop and think about it. By dividing everything by 2, this will end up being a singular y, and that singular y will be used when we get over to the slope-intercept form. Slope-intercept form. So now I'm going to divide everything by 2. So divide by 2, divide by 2, divide by 2. And when I do that, I get 3x plus y, because the 2's cancel. And 20 divided by 2 equals 10. So now I'm in the right form. Everything is good. I can now go to the slope-intercept form, which means I start by subtracting 3x. Then I take this whole side of the equation and I add it to 3x plus y. And that equals minus 3x on this side. I have to move minus 3x to both sides. And don't forget to bring down the 10 plus 10. The 3x's cancel. I end up with y. See that? I've already have the y. Y equals minus 3x plus 10. See how easy that was? Skip the step. Okay, next equation. 5x minus 3y plus 11. Everything is good about that format. There's no common factors. There's no fractions, no decimals. They're in the right order, x, y, and then constant. There's no negative x coefficient. All we have to do is start going to slope-intercept form, which means I'm going to rewrite this. 5x minus 3y equals 11. I'm going to subtract 5x from both sides. To do that, I have to write this whole side again. 5x minus 3y equals, put the minus 5x on this side too, and it's plus 11. Plus 11. So I've got the 5x. The 5x goes on both sides. Don't forget that. You have to also bring down the 11 term when you write this. And this you have to bring down the constant. The 5's disappear. You have minus 3y is equal to minus 5x plus 11. We have to get rid of the negative 3 because we have to have a singular positive y. So we're going to divide both sides by negative 3 and divide everything over here by negative 3. The negative 3's cancel. We get a y equals minus 5x divided by minus 3, or I should say negative 5x divided by negative 3 is equal to 5/3 x plus 11 divided by 3, 11 divided by 3, or it could be 3 2/3. next slide. That was slide 8. We're moving good. Okay, we're on to slide 9. Let's give these guys a shot here. So the first problem here, 4x plus 7y is 26. It's in the right order. Everything's good. There's no negative sign in front of the x, and there are no common factors. So we can just go straight to finding the slope-intercept form. And to do that, I'm going to rewrite the equation. 4x plus 7y is equal to 26. So we have to get rid of the 4's. 4x is on. Remember, I draw this little line here, which isn't necessary, but it just helps to remember what we're doing. So I can now say, oh, x's go over here, so that means I have to take any x on the left and get it to the right. In order to get rid of a positive, any kind of positive number, I have to put a negative, so it's negative 4x. Then I take and write this whole side, plus 4x, and it's plus 7y. Plus 7y is equal to, we've got to get the negative 4x to the other side, so here it is, negative 4x, and it's plus 26. Plus 26. The 4x's disappear, and we end up with 7y is equal to negative 4x plus 26. Now we have to get the 7 away from the y, because the y needs to be a singular positive y. So we're going to divide everything by 7. Divide by 7, and divide this side by 7. And when we do that, these 7's go to a 1, and we're left with y equals negative 4/7 x, negative 4/7 x plus 26/7. If you're going to divide this any further, you would divide the 7 into 26. So we're going to have 3 times, and then you're going to have 6. You're going to have, what, 5/7 remaining? So 6y, 4x, 26. The 6y and the 4x are in the wrong location. We need to move the 4 over here and the y over here. So we're going to have 4x plus 6y equals 26. Okay? We just moved them around. And everything's positive. Are there common cofactors here? Coefficient factors? Yes. There's a 2 in every one of these terms. So we have to divide by 2 to get this in standard form. In order to do that, we're going to divide this side by 2 and this side by 2. And when we do that, we're going to get 4 divided by 2x is 2x, and 6 divided by 2, 6y divided by 2 is plus 3y is equal to 26 divided by 2 is 13. Now, we're in the right form. Everything is good. We have to get rid of the x. We have to put the x on the right side and leave the y on the left. So, and leave the constant on the right side. So we're going to do that, we're going to have to add a negative x. Then we're going to add this entire side. We're going to write that plus 2x plus 3y, and that equals, going to put the negative 2x in, negative 2x, and don't forget to bring your 13 down, plus 13. Now we get rid of the x's, and we have 3y is equal to negative 2x plus 13. Get rid of the 3. Divide by 3. Divide by 3. These 3's cancel. We get a y. And a y equals what? Negative 2x over 3. So it's negative 2x divided by 3. I'm writing it a little differently just to see that there's different ways of writing it. Plus 13 divided by 3. Next problem here is the negative x. We have to get rid of the negative 3x and make it a positive 3x. And to do that, we're going to divide everything by a negative 1. So a negative 3x, negative 6y equals negative 21. Oh, here, if we divide everything by 3, we can. There's a common factor in all of these numbers. 3 is common with 6 and 21. We can do the negative to get rid of the negative and do the 3 all at the same time. So we're going to divide by negative 3, divide by negative 3, and divide by negative 3. You see it? Here's the negative 3 we're trying to get rid of by dividing by a negative to make it positive. When we do that, these 3's are going to cancel, these negatives are going to cancel, and we're going to end up with x. And then we have a negative and a negative, negative 6 and a negative 3. The negatives are going to cancel, and the 6 divided by 3 is going to be equal to positive 2y. And that's going to be equal to negative divided by negative is a positive. 21 divided by 3 is 7. So now we can get rid of the x. We're going to get negative x plus 2y. Remember, we had a negative x, and then we add this side in, all here on the bottom, right there, and that equals to the negative x and a plus 7. And when we do that, these x's disappear, and we have a 2y is equal to negative x plus 7. And we have to divide by the 2 to get rid of the 2. Divide everything by 2. Divide everything by 2. And I'm going to move up here. We get y equals negative x divided by 2 is negative x divided by 2. And 7 divided by plus 7 divided by 2. And this converted into a fraction would be a compound number. Compound fraction is going to be 3/2, 3.5. Okay, so now the last one here on this page, 5x, y 18, everything's good. No negatives where they don't belong. There's no fractions, no decimals, no common factors. All we have to do is go straight to slope-intercept, which is 5x plus y equals 18. So we're going to minus 5x, and then we're going to write plus 5x plus y. We have to write this whole side of the equation. This whole side's got to be written in again, and that's equal to negative 5x, and that got to bring the negative 5x over, plus 18. You have to get the 5x on both sides. Don't forget it. 5x's cancel. You ended up now with a y equals negative 5x plus 18. And there's your answer. Okay? And I know we're all happy here because we're on our last sheet. You know the instructions. You know what we're trying to do. So let's get to it. The very first problem. 4y plus 5x is equal to 22. Well, the only thing wrong here is that the 5 and the 4 have to be switched because the x comes first. So I'm just going to start off by writing 5x plus 4y is equal to 22. There are no common factors that divide into all, that you have a factor that divides evenly into all the terms. There are no fractions. There are no decimals. The x term is a positive. That pretty much, they're in order. That kind of gets the rules. We're ready now to convert the into a slope-intercept form. So in order to do that, we're going to subtract 5x from both sides. So we're going to minus 5x. And now we're going to write this entire side of the equation. Remember, here's where we're trying to move everything. This entire side gets written plus 5x plus 4y equals minus 5x goes in, minus 5x. Don't forget to bring the 5x across. And don't forget to bring the 20, in this case, the 22 down, plus 22. The 5x's cancel. We end up with 4y equals minus 5x plus 22. So we're now going to get rid of the 4. So we're going to divide this side by 4 and this entire side by 4. And we're going to get the 4's canceling. So we have y equals minus 5x divided by 4 minus 5x divided by 4. And now we have plus 22 over 4. And 22 over 4 is 11 over 2. So the final answer is 11 equals minus 5x over 4 plus 11 over 2. This equation is not in the right order, but everything else appears to be good. No fractions, no decimals, no common factors. We're just going to move the 5x. So 5x plus 4y equals 22. Oh, look at that. We'll do it. We just did this problem. I made a mistake. Sorry, you're only going to get 39 equations. This is 4y plus 5x equals 22. I hope I didn't do it. Yeah, no, we're going to forget that one, okay? So, next problem. Minus 2y plus 6x, 9. The 6x is in the wrong spot. Other than that, everything looks good. So I'm going to say 6x minus 2y equals 9. No common factors, no decimals, no fractions. The x is positive. Let's get with it. We can just go straight to slope-intercept. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to subtract 6x from both sides, and we're going to add this piece in. So it's plus 6x minus 2y. And now that equals, put the 6x on this side, 6x plus 9. Don't forget to bring the 9 down. Don't forget to put the 6 over. The 6x's cancel, and we end up with minus 2y is equal to minus 6x plus 9. We have to get rid of the negative 2 because we have to have a positive 1y. So we're going to divide by negative 2 and divide this side by negative 2. These 2's cancel. We have a y equals, the 6 gets divided by 2, makes a 3, positive 3, because y divided 1 negative divided by negative is a positive, plus 9 divided by negative 2 is, I'm going to have to write it here, negative 9 halves. I should not have put the plus. Just to make, I would just go ahead and I'll change it then. Watch, we'll fix this. Little magic. We're going to go back to the here, and we're going to just go say 3. Oops, I didn't get the color. Minus 9 halves. Last equation. 3x minus 2y is equal to 4. Everything's good. No common factors. X is positive. No fractions, no decimals. We're in good shape. So we're just going to go straight to slope-intercept. So we're going to say 3x minus 2y equals 4. So we're going to move the x term to the, remember the little gate here? We're going to move the x term over to the left side and keep to the right side and keep the y term on the left. So we're going to add a negative 3x, and then we're going to add this entire side in, plus 3x minus 2y, and then equals, we're going to bring the 3x minus 3x to this side and bring down the 4 plus 4. Don't forget to bring down the 4. The x's cancel. You get negative 2y equals negative 3x plus 4. We have to divide everything by -2 to make a singular 1y positive. Divide by -2, divide by -2, divide by -2. When we do that, the 2's cancel. We get y equals 3 halves, because it's positive 3 halves, because a negative divided by a negative is a positive. So it's 3 halves x, and the positive divided by a negative is a negative. 4 divided by 2 is a 2. We're done. If anybody has any questions, write a comment at the back of on the end of the video, and like I said before, I try to answer all comments, and if I have to, we'll figure out what we have to do to answer your question. Thank you.